Today on Track Pro Studios, we take a look at the Mesa Boogie Stiletto Deuce Stage 2. So let's look at the front panel of this amplifier. First thing we have to the left is our on and off power switch, our standby on and off, and our bold and spongy switch. So the bold selection of the switch gives you the full 117 volts of incoming AC line voltage. And the spongy setting, what that will do is it will decrease that voltage, giving you a different flavor of sound. So through the power of editing, here is our bold. And here is spongy. As you can hear, two different flavors, so it'll give you another variation of sound. Now moving on here, we have our illumination light, which will allow you to see that the amplifier is on or off. Next we have our solo channel volume. This is going to adjust the amount of volume that is applied once you select solo on your foot switch. If the foot switch is not plugged in to the amplifier, this knob becomes obsolete. Now going over to the output control knob. This knob works only when the effects loop is activated. Switch out of the loop bypass position on the loop assigned switch to activate the effects loop and bring the output control online. So next we have the channel 1, channel 2 foot switch selector switch. This is going to allow you to select between channel 1, channel 2, or if you want to use a foot switch, you have to make sure that this switch is selected in the middle. If not, your foot switch is not going to work. Moving on now, we have our 50 and 100 watt selections independent of each channel. This way you can have 100 watts for your clean channel and 50 watts for your dirty channel if that's what you desire, if you find it's too loud with the distortion channel, or you can do vice versa or put them wherever you need be. Next off, we have our master volume, presence, bass, mid, treble, and gain knob. So a few things I would like to stress is one, the presence knob on this is very eccentric in the high end when it gets past the 12 o'clock position. So you're going to want to dial that back. So throw it on the 9 o'clock position when you're going to find your tone, and then dial accordingly afterwards once you find the EQ and fine tune it to where you want it. If not, sometimes you could be fighting this for a while, so just dial that back a little bit and then dial it into where you want it after you found your EQ settings that you desire. Next, I would like to talk about using the treble and the gain together. If you have the gain really far down in the maximum regions, you're going to want to have to dial back that treble, or you're going to get into some of that high end that some of us don't like. If you like that, that's great. But sometimes it can be hard on the ears for a lot of people and just very unpleasant. So make sure that if you're dialing that gain far up, that you're going to dial back the treble past the 2 o'clock position towards 12 o'clock. Moving on now, we have our selector switch for channel 1, which includes fat clean, tight clean, and crunch. Fat Clean has sparkling highs, sweet mids, and breathing lows, and sounds great like an old vintage American style clean sound that everybody knows and loves. Tite Clean strips away sub lows and lower mids, creating a more focused immediate attack, which is great for your big chords and to help stick out in a mix if needed. And last but not least, we have Crunch, which is a medium gain distortion that is tight and is reminiscent of British style distortion sounds. Now let's listen to all three of these different sound settings. So now moving on to the channel 2 selector switch. Our first setting here is crunch, which is the exact same as our channel 1 crunch setting, which is great, especially if you want to have two of these sounds, and it's a great distortion sound. This is going to allow you to have one crunch sound that's a lot more aggressive than the other if you want something that's lighter and something that is a little bit more dirtier. Moving on now, we have our Tite gain. Our Tite gain kicks gain up a notch, keeps low frequencies in line, focuses the mid-range, and tightens up the tracking, which is great for lower tuning instruments. And last but not least, we have fluid drive. This is the most amount of gain that you can obtain out of this amplifier, as well as it produces a lot more girth in the sound. So now let's listen to these last two sound settings in this amplifier in channel 2. looking at the back of our amplifier here quickly, we have our slave level knob as well as an output jack. 4 output jacks for our speaker connections, 2 being 4 ohm and 2 being 8 ohm. We have 2 external switch jacks here, 1 for our channel and 1 for our solo. We also have an effects loop, return and send, as well as a send level knob to bring back up to volume if we're starting to lose a little bit of volume. Next we have our loop in switch, which allows you to either take out the effects loop as well as the solo and output, or to keep them in. You can hard bypass it just by switching the switch down. Next we have our silicone diode and tube rectifier tracking switches independently for channel 1, channel 2, which will show you shortly what these two do, as well as our power jack and our fuse. So right now what I want to do is show you the differences in sound by switching on silicone diodes as well as tube tracking, and also switching on the bold and spongy switch in between, so you can hear the different variants of sound you can get with these 2 different switches. So here we go. So this concludes my review on the Mesa Boogie Stiletto Deuce head. Now before I get into this review, I really want to stress the fact that on this channel we've always prided ourselves in making sure that we get the most accurate review for you guys, so you guys don't end up going out and buying a piece of gear that you really don't like, or end up missing out on something that you really did want and then regretting it. That's the last thing that we want. With that being said, if you look online right now, you will see an abundance of negative reviews on this particular head. Looking at some of the reviews, I was quite shocked to see that a lot of people really disliked this amplifier, but quickly I started to see the 2 same things that over and over and over again that we were typically seeing, and it pretty much chopped down to 2 styles of negative reviews. And the first one is people were plugging into this thinking, oh, Mesa Boogie, dual rectifier, Mark series amplifier, expecting that style of sound from this amplifier, and then they plug it in, turn the gain up, and they're like, whoa, what is this sound? This doesn't sound like a Mesa. Unplug. This is not made to sound like that style of amplifier. This is made to sound like channel 1 is that American style or Fender style clean sound, and then for channel 2 sounds like that British or Marshall style mid-gain style sound. Which brings me to number 2, brand loyalists. You can tell that people get really upset when people try to emulate brands that they love. If somebody, same thing as if somebody tried to emulate a Gibson Les Paul, or when Paul Reed Smith did the Fender Strat style guitar, which was the John Mayer Silver Sky. People got really up in arms and mad about that and wrote so many negative reviews, and yet the guitar never even came out yet. People were so upset about it. But people are really upset when something especially is done well. And what this amp says it does extremely well. The fact on top of that you can go from 50 watts to 100 watts is great for any bedroom musician or someone that gigs and want that loud sound, but they want to break it down for their bedroom. This amp is going to do it for you. The fact that you have 5 different tone selections you can select through. And then on top of that, you have the bold and spongy switch that adds another 5, which is 10. And then you have the diode and tube rectification that you can switch between. That's going to add over 15 different styles of sounds that you can achieve with this amplifier. Super versatile. It sounds great. If you are having trouble trying to achieve a sound that you really like and really want out of this amplifier, I do highly suggest dialing back your presence, dialing back the gain, and dialing back the treble, and then using it at the 9 o'clock position and then dialing to taste from there. That might help you. A positives about that being such a high end when you get too far, it does help you out if you do have some really low tuned guitars or 7-string. If you want to bring some of that brightness back, you can definitely do it with this amplifier. So enough about me and this review. I hope I will help you distinguish if this is the right amplifier for you or not. I do highly suggest plugging this in. It is an excellent amplifier and does not deserve the negative reviews that it gets. I'm sure some are valid concerns, but this amplifier is excellent. I paid $500 Canadian for it, which in the States, what, 20 bucks, 30 bucks, whatever with conversion rate. I'm sure you can get it for a very low price, and it's a great sounding amplifier, and it's built like a Mesa. It will go through anything. Like, this amp was almost absolutely destroyed, and I took it to Joe Flynn, who has fixed all of my amplifiers, and he looked at it, and this thing was bomb-proof, even with all the problems that the guy had put it through and the abuse the guy put it through. He still turned it into a beautiful looking amplifier. So $500, couldn't go wrong, and it's definitely worth more than that to my ears. So thanks for coming out. Hope to see you soon.